Hi, it's Sidney again with Chapter 11, Part 1 of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. Pinocchio, having taken leave of his friend the Tunney, began to grope his way in the dark through that great body of the dogfish, taking one step at a time in the direction of the light. The farther he advanced, the brighter the light became. And when he reached it, what did he find? What do you think he found? He found a little table spread out, and on it a lighted candle stuck into a green glass bottle. And seated at that table was a little old man. He was eating some live fish, and they were so very much alive that every now and then he put one in his mouth and it would jump out immediately again. At this sight, Pinocchio was filled with such great and unexpected joy that he became almost delirious. He wanted to laugh, he wanted to cry, he wanted to say 1,000 things, and instead he could only stammer out a few confused and broken words. At last he succeeded in uttering a cry of joy, and opening his arms, he threw them round the little old man's neck and began to shout, "Oh, my papa, my dear papa, I have found you at last. I will never leave you more, never more, never more, never more." "Then my eyes tell me truth," said the little old man, rubbing his eyes. "Then you are really my dear Pinocchio?" "Yes, I am Pinocchio, really Pinocchio. You have quite forgiven me, have you not? Oh, my dear papa, how good you are. How long have you been here? And it must be nearly 2 years. 2 years ago, 2 years, my dear Pinocchio, that have seemed to me like 2 centuries. But how have you managed to live? And where did you get the candle and the matches to light? Who gave those to you?" "Stop. I will tell you everything. You must know then that in the same storm in which my boat was upset, a merchant vessel foundered. The sailors were all saved, but the vessel went to the bottom, and the great dogfish, who had that day an excellent appetite after all, he swallowed me. He swallowed that great big vessel. How? He swallowed it in one big mouthful. And the only thing that he spat out was the mainmast that had stuck between his teeth like a fishbone. Fortunately for me, the vessel was laden with preserved meat in tins, biscuits, bottles of wine, dried raisins, cheese, coffee, sugar, candles, and boxes of wax matches. With this providential supply, I have been able to live for 2 years. But I have arrived at the end of my resources. There's nothing left in the larder, and this candle that you see burning is the last that there remains. And after that, dear boy, we shall both remain in the dark." "Then, dear little papa," said Pinocchio, "there is no time to lose. We must think of escaping." "Of escaping? But how?" "We must escape through the mouth of the dogfish, throw ourselves into the sea and swim away." You talk well, but, dear Pinocchio, I don't know how to swim." "What does that matter? I am a good swimmer, and you can get on my shoulders. I will carry you safely to shore." "All illusion, dear boy," replied Geppetto, shaking his head with a melancholy smile. Do you suppose it possible that a puppet like you, scarcely a meter high, could have the strength to swim with me on his shoulders? Try it, and you will see." Without another word, Pinocchio took the candle in his hand, and going in front to light the way, he said to his father, "Follow me, and don't be afraid." They walked for some time and travelled the body and the stomach of the dogfish. But when they arrived at the point where the monster's big throat began, they thought it better to stop, to give a good look around, to choose the best moment for escaping. Now, I must tell you that the dogfish, being very old and suffering from asthma and palpitation of the heart, was obliged to sleep with his mouth open. Pinocchio, therefore, having approached the entrance to his throat, looking up, could see beyond the enormous gaping mouth a large piece of starry sky and beautiful moonlight. "This is the moment to escape," he whispered, turning to his father. "The dogfish is sleeping like a dormouse. The sea is calm, and it is as light as day. Follow me, dear papa, and in a short time we shall be in safety." They immediately climbed up the throat of the sea monster, and having reached his immense mouth, they began to walk on tiptoe down his tongue. Before taking the final leap, the puppet said to his father, "Get on my shoulders and put your arms tight round my neck. I will take care of the rest." As soon as Geppetto was firmly settled on his son's shoulders, Pinocchio, feeling sure of himself, threw himself into the water and began to swim. The sea was as smooth as oil, the moon shone brilliantly, and the dogfish was sleeping so profoundly that even a cannonade would have failed to wake him. Whilst Pinocchio was swimming quickly towards the shore, he discovered that his father, who was on his shoulders with his legs in the water, was trembling as violently as if the poor man had got an attack of ague or fever. Was he trembling from cold, or was he trembling from fear? Perhaps a little from the both, the one and the other. But Pinocchio, thinking that it was only from fear, said to comfort him, "Courage, papa. In a few minutes we shall be safely on the shore." "But where is this blessed shore?" asked the little man, becoming still more frightened and screwing up his eyes as tailors do when they wish to thread a needle. "I have been looking in every direction, and I see nothing but the sky and the sea." "But I also see the shore as well," said the puppet. "You must know that I am like a cat. I see better by night than by day." Poor Pinocchio was making a pretense of being in good spirits, but in reality, he was beginning to feel discouraged. His strength was failing. He was gasping and panting for breath. He could do no more, and the shore was still far off. He swam until he had no breath left. Then he turned his head to Geppetto and said in broken words, "Papa, help me. I am dying." The father and son were on the point of drowning when they heard a voice like a guitar out of tune saying, "Who is it that is dying?" "It is I and my poor father." "I know that voice. You are Pinocchio." "Precisely. And I am the Tunney, your prison companion in the body of the dogfish. How did you manage to escape?" I followed your example. You showed me the road and I escaped after you. Tunney, you have arrived at the right moment. I implore you to help us, or we are lost. Willingly. You must take hold of my tail and leave me to guide you. I will take you to the shore in 4 minutes. Geppetto and Pinocchio accepted the offer at once. But instead of holding on by his tail, they thought it would be more comfortable to get on the Tunney's back. Having reached the shore, Pinocchio sprang first on land, that he might help his father to do the same. He then turned to the Tunney and said to him in a voice full of emotion, "My friend, you have saved my papa's life. I can find no words with which to thank you properly. Permit me at least to give you a kiss as a sign of my eternal gratitude." The Tunney put his head out of the water, and Pinocchio, kneeling on the ground, kissed him tenderly on the mouth. At this spontaneous proof of warm affection, the poor Tunney, who was not accustomed to it, felt extremely touched and ashamed to let himself be seen crying like a child. He plunged under the water and disappeared. By this time, the day had dawned. Pinocchio then, offering his arm to Geppetto, who had scarcely breath to stand, said to him, "Lean on my arm, dear papa, and let us go. We will walk very slowly like the ants, and when we are tired, we can rest by the wayside." "And where shall we go?" asked Geppetto. "In search of some house or cottage, where they will give us for charity a mouthful of bread and a little straw to serve as a bed." They had not gone 100 yards when they saw by the roadside 2 villainous-looking individuals begging. They were the cat and the fox, but they were scarcely recognizable. Fancy! The cat had so long feigned blindness that she had become blind in reality, and the fox, old, mangy, and with one side paralyzed, had not even his tail left. That sneaking thief, having fallen into the most squalid misery, one day had found himself obliged to sell his beautiful tail to a travelling peddler who bought it to drive away the flies. "Oh, Pinocchio!" cried the fox, "give a little in charity to poor infirm people." "Infirm people?" repeated the cat. "Begone, impostors!" answered the puppet. "You took me in once, but you will never catch me again. Believe me, Pinocchio, we are now poor and unfortunate indeed. If you are poor, you deserve it. Recollect the proverbs, stolen money never fructifies. Begone, impostors!" And thus saying, Pinocchio and Geppetto went on their way.